Again, good yontiv. Now, since this is class, what was the big difference between this and the Shabbat Kiddush?
I'll take a guess.
Yeah.
At the end where it says Israel and the festivals, we don't say festivals.
You're right, and Israel's not in there either. It's just Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctified Shabbat, but that one was too easy.
Do I get some from you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there are differences, but when we talked about the Kiddush for Shabbat, what was the question we were asking? I know this was weeks ago. I asked you, what do we commemorate on Shabbat? Right? What?
The end of work.
Yeah, but what events?
I was trying to come to this about bride too.
So in one set of 10 Commandments, remember the 10 Commandments appear twice in the Torah. And one time it tells us you shall observe the seventh day because on it, what? God rested, right? And then in the other set of 10 Commandments, it tells us you shall observe the Sabbath day as a remembrance of when I took you out of Egypt, right? So in the festival Kiddush, there's no mention of creation, right? So all of the festivals will have some sense of remembering bringing us out of Egypt, but creation is only for Shabbat. And even when Shabbat falls on one of the festivals, we don't have that. So that was just for extra bonus points you don't need. I find that interesting. All right, so if we were at home, right, we would now have our festival meal. But I did not cook for you all. So when you go home, you'll say motzi, right? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, which you have in that packet I gave you of all the prayers for Shabbat, and you can have your own festival meal, and you can even light candles again and do Kiddush again if you want. And I know the Kiddush is big, okay? And I think I told you when we did Shabbat that isn't a reason not to do it. You can read the prayer in English, or you know why you're doing it. So even just doing Borei Puri Hagafen, the blessing for the wine, if you know your purpose is to make Kiddush, to start a festival, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you'll see a lot of times here, we'll just do Borei Puri Hagafen without the last paragraph, depending on where we are, and that's completely fine. Yes?
Does Reform do the Natalia Yadim?
The Nitilat Yadayim is the washing of the hands, right? We talked about that with Shabbat. You would wash hands anytime, the ritual hand washing, just like Rabbi was talking about the mikveh, the ritual bath. Well, the washing of the hands is something you can do at home. And traditionally, it's done anytime you're eating bread. Not only on Shabbat, not only on holidays, right? So anytime you're going to say motzi, you would do nitilat yadayim, the ritual washing of the hands before. It's not just an Orthodox thing. It can be done in Reform. It's probably not done very often in Reform, right? Because, again, in that modern view, if we're going to wash our hands, we're going to use soap and do it in the bathroom, which we know we should wash our hands before the meal. But the ritual washing gets lost, okay? But there's no reason not to do it. I usually do it on Shabbat festivals, even though you would traditionally do it all the time. Okay. So again, when we're talking home observance, right, this is a big part of it. When we talk about Passover, and we're going to do a model Seder with you all. When we talk about Hanukkah, we'll talk about the candles. Most of the home ritual is based around Shabbat and the festivals. There is one home ritual, one very, we say mamash in Hebrew, one very much home ritual that doesn't have anything to do with holidays, Shabbat, or the festivals. What do we put on our doors? Mezuzah, right? Now, have I told you guys my theory of mezuzah? Some of you. Huh? Yeah. I think when I was talking about the Judaizing of different things, right? It was an ancient custom to have amulets on your door as some kind of protection, right? And my theory is that if we were to tell ancient Israelites, you can't put an amulet on your door, either they would have done it anyway, or they would have not gone with this new religion, right? But there are some things that are so ingrained, you're not going to get rid of them. So my theory is that in the establishment of this religion, right, it's not you cannot put an amulet on your door. What do we do instead? Yeah, we say you have to put it on your door, right? You have to put it on your door, but you're going to do it in a Jewish way, right? So we don't just put a thing on our door. Inside is text from the Torah, right? Inside are the words of the Shema, right? Listen, Israel, Adonai. Because if you're going to do this, right, we're going to make sure that you know it's not worshiping the God of the whatever. This is for our God. So what text are we going to put in? The text that says Adonai, right? Yud He Vav He. That word we don't know how to pronounce, but God is our God. God is the only one. Okay? So that's what you're going to put on your door if you're going to put something on your door, and not if. You have to put it on your door. Right? Traditionally, mezuzah is not just for your front door. Right? Traditionally, a mezuzah would go on every door in your house, to every room, except for the bathroom. Except for the bathroom. Okay? It goes on the right doorpost, coming in. And here's an interesting one, and I saw you, right? In the Ashkenazi tradition, which is where most of us come from, the German tradition, the mezuzah points inwards, right? Points toward the entrance, and you can take a look on your way out. My office has a mezuzah. There's a mezuzah coming in for all of our, I don't know if all of our classrooms have it. I'm not pretty sure. In the Sephardic tradition, and I don't know why, but in the Spanish, the Jews coming from Spain, they don't tell the mezuzah. It goes straight up and down. Putting up a mezuzah is traditionally the first thing you do when you move into a new home. There is a blessing for it. It's just, blessed are you, God, who sanctified us with the commandments, same as we start that, and commanded us to affix the mezuzah. All of our blessings begin, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Sometimes you go right into, right, if it's that God made something, right, Borei Puri Hagafen, who made the wine, Hamotzi Lachem Minar, who made the bread. Or if it's something that we do, Asher Kitshanu b'mitzvotav, who sanctified us with the commandments, Vitzivanu, and commanded us. In this case, it was Lahad Likner Shel Yom Tov, to light the candles, Likboa Mezuzah, to affix the mezuzah, Al Netilat Lulav, to shake the lulav. So that's kind of the formula for our blessings. One is if you are enjoying God's creation, where it's just Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, and either Borei, something which means creator of, or Hamotzi, one made, or you have the Asher Kitshanu, which is when we're going to do something. Does that make sense? Okay. Good. What other home ritual? We're going to talk about cooking later on, but we are going to talk about keeping kosher tonight. There is something called, and this is not necessary. This is something you'll see in some homes. And I didn't bring a text for you. If anyone wants, I can. But there isn't just one text. Birkat Habayit. So Birkat sounds like what words that we know? Baruch, right? The beginning of our blessings, right? So Birkat comes from the word Baracha, which means blessing. Birkat Habayit is the blessing of the house. So in some Jewish homes, when you walk in, there's mezuzah, but inside the door they'll have framed a prayer, which is Birkat Habayit, It's usually something like, may this blessed be house, may this house be blessed, right? All those who live in it, all those who enter it, all those who leave from it, and then some kind of additional blessing. Not necessarily something to be recited every time you come in the house, but kind of a blessing to just sit there. So that is another kind of fun tradition for new homes. But the mezuzah is the one that's a mitzvah. The birkat habayit, it's not a commandment to have that in the home. Okay. Any questions about home ritual? Candles, kiddush, holiday, and knowing that we're going to talk more about other holiday observance. The Sukkot, right? Remember when we had the sukkah out there? I was telling you all how fun it is to have a sukkah in your yard. It's not a super easy one, it seems, but once you have the materials, it really is easy. And families who build Sukkot in their yard, like they look forward to it all year long. It really is a nice custom. And like I've told you, Sukkot is not just for kids. Yes?
Thing about the wine, it could be either red or white.
Uh-huh.
Right? Or it could be grape juice.
Uh-huh.
And it's not just ceremonial. I mean, after that, then you can
Uh-huh.
drink a lot of wine.
Uh-huh. And the wine, and I should have told you all this before we said a blessing and drank the wine. It's just wine. Okay? As opposed to what it's become in Catholicism and some other brands of Christianity, it's just wine. And when we say the blessing, all we're doing is thanking God for making the wine and using wine as something special to show how special the day is. Okay? But it doesn't represent anything other than wine. And you can drink it. It doesn't make you Jewish to drink it, and you don't have to be Jewish to drink it. And it's just wine. Okay? And nothing happens to the wine when we say a blessing. Right? It's just wine. The bread is just bread. And nothing happens to the bread because we say a blessing over it. We're just thankful that we have the bread. Now when you see the host and the wine, or right, this is where it comes from, right? Because we would have kiddush and motzi in the Jewish meals. Okay? But here it's just bread and wine. And I think I told you when we did Shabbat that it doesn't have to be wine. It can be scotch, which is my preferred kiddush. In Russia, especially when wine was bad, they would do it with vodka. And it can also be done over bread itself. Right? The Talmud gives us that exception, that if you don't have a good beverage, then you would take your challah, say hamotzi lechem min haaretz, and then do that second paragraph. And then you eat the bread after everything. So, does that answer your question? Okay. It's just doing something special. Right? Kosher wine, if we don't talk about tonight, because now we're going to talk about kashrut. Kashrut is the same, kashrut and kosher are the same thing. Kashrut is the noun in Hebrew. Do you guys think my handwriting is bad here? In my classroom, we just got a smart board where you're writing on the computer. Oh, it's terrible. The Hebrew word kosher comes from the root for fit, F-I-T, right? And the idea is something that's fit to eat. It really doesn't appear biblically with the dietary laws, but they'll be connected later. Okay? Biblically, what we see is either it's pure for you, or it's not, or it's impure. Okay? We're on the packet now. So it seems as though, at least in the narrative that we're given, right, that when humans were created, we had the potential to eat everything. God said, "See, I give you every seed-bearing plant that is upon all the earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruit, they shall be yours for food." So I'm going to take that back. What's missing?